Welcome to the History and Philosophy of Engineering course. My name is Stephen Armstrong, and in this video presentation I'm going to introduce the course. I'm going to introduce the content of the course and also the reason why we designed and developed the course, basically the reason why the course exists. And the method I'm going to use is rather than just PowerPoint slides, I'm just going to do some notes on the whiteboard, and you can stop the tape and you can take notes along with me as I write. So let me just first of all put the agenda up. So the agenda is going to consist of basically 3 sections. The very first section is just some overarching comments about the course. The second section is why the course exists. The course exists. And in this, we're going to talk about some of the history of engineering. But more importantly, there's been lots of complaints over the past 5, 10, 15 years from employers that the engineers that are coming out of universities aren't fit for work purposes and that they're having to do huge amounts of retraining, etc. We're going to talk about that a little bit and drill down and see, well, what does that really mean? The whole idea of this course, of course, is it's for the reflective engineer. It's for engineers to stand outside their profession and look back in at it, look at its historical foundations, look at the role of engineering with science and the role of engineering with technology and the role of engineering with society and how engineering impacts technology and then impacts the social and cultural construction of society. So then we'll talk about the syllabus. And in that we're going to talk about, there's 12 weeks and there's 4 major themes in the syllabus, and then we'll talk about the readings as well. So the themes and then the readings. Okay, so let's get into part 1, the overarching comments of the course. The method by which I'm going to teach this course, it will be self-directed learning. Self-directed learning. So the idea behind that is students discover knowledge. Students will work in teams. We are going to focus heavily on communications, presentations, both online or in class. This course is run both in class and online. And so we're going to make sure that we'll have virtual teams, we'll have video presentations from students, and it will be a self-directed model. It's not really important what knowledge I have. My job is to facilitate the learning process. And that's the method I use in nearly all my courses, actually, is to allow the students themselves in teams to discover knowledge and to see how that knowledge applies to their own situation and make use of it. The whole idea of knowledge is to make use of it, is to apply it. It's of no value just sitting in your head, memorizing it. So the idea is to get you truly in this course to reflect on the whole profession of engineering. So it is for the reflective engineer. It's a new term. Reflective means to ponder what is engineering, who are engineers, why are they the way they are, what shapes the profession, how do they impact industry, what's their future role in society, what's the current role in society, what are the gaps. We want you to also learn the critical thinking. You hear a lot about this critical thinking. Liberal arts courses are steeped in critical thinking to the point that arguments become a way of life. That's not often helpful with engineers who are driven by getting solutions. But engineers should learn to question the corporations that they work in, the society in which they're living in, the products that they're designing. If they're designing weapon systems, they ought to really be concerned how those weapon systems are being used. If they're designing machines to produce pharmaceutical drugs, they ought to actually care about how those drugs are used in society. If they're doing genetically modified crops and machines to produce that, they ought to care what impact that has on the earth and the environment. So we're looking for a new kind of engineer, and that new kind of engineer has to be able to think critically, has to be able to deal in public situations and speak publicly and be able to defend a point of view. Engineers in the past have typically been designed and built for corporations, and one of the themes is to look at engineers in the capitalist system, going all the way back to the 19th century, and particularly in the early 20th century, and the role of engineers in the capitalist system. The other thing as well is, as a reflective engineer, the idea is so that you can design and shape your own future. You shape your own future. Not leave it up to the corporation where you're spent 25, 30 years in it and they'll tell you how you're going to progress. The whole idea is that you design it, you use your engineering design skills to design your career and to design a future that you are passionate about, not that you just are a wage slave. The other idea too is to get you to be able to question authority. Very few engineers go into politics. Of the 530 congressmen, I think there's 7 in the United States, about 7 are engineers. The same goes for the UK system. Of the MPs, 1% or 0.05% are engineers and 70% are lawyers or economists. So the idea is that the authority around us, engineers need to learn to question authority and be able to write about it, to be able to speak about it, and be able to debate. So to do that, one must be reflective, one must have a philosophical foundation, and one must have a historical foundation on their profession. And the ultimate idea of this course, among the other course I'm teaching, Management of Innovation and Applying Innovation, etc., is to become master change agents, to be actually driving change, master agents of change. Society is going through rapid technological change, social change, cultural change. It's accelerating. And engineers, rather than being technicians designing widgets or artifacts, whether it's pieces or whole aircraft, ought to be looking at the whole technological systems by which their products impact. So that's the end of part 1. That's the overall context of this course.